Hello Gemini friends, I'm Annie Botticelli. Welcome to my February 2020 horoscope report for you. This is a magical month where way more sweet aspects are occurring than salty ones, and whenever that happens, it sets the tone for the month. And I know that this is much needed because as I'm recording this, we're still in the eclipse season, and there has been a lot of trauma and drama, I know for myself and many other people. There are also amazing things that have occurred and could still be occurring from the eclipses. But either way, February is like this sweet little rest spot where there could be some peace and quiet and time to figure out what you're going to do next from like the changes that have already occurred. Now, when I say peace and quiet, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be busy because Mars is still moving through Sagittarius, and for Geminis that means it's opposing your placements and it's in a fellow spiral sign. Okay, so the way that Sag moves is in this spiral and Gemini moves in the same way. So February will probably be somewhat dizzying still in the way that you're going to be planning trips, planning things, busy doing things, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. We still do have planets moving through Aquarius, which are kissing your Gemini placements. And so all of those add to the positive scene, okay? You might still be getting news coming in from the eclipses, pieces of information. For some people, like the big actual news of an eclipse might not come in until February. Or it can just be like a moving forward of the information that already came in, like a development of it. Something else that's occurring is that the planets are starting to move through Pisces. Now, this did start in January with Venus. So this was already kind of happening, but it's going to get stronger as we get deeper into the month. And what that means for Gemini is an awkward angle is being made with those placements. And that is not as fun because it's a square and it's going to put pressure on you and it's going to likely bring a lot of emotion into the picture. Okay, so dwelling in this mental realm with mental rapport and interacting and moving your physical body is like a Gemini thing. And then when the planets start getting into this emotional placement, it makes you stop a little bit to have to deal with the emotions that come up. And again, those could be for better or worse. They could be happy emotions that you're like, feel kind of stalled by because, it's just things are working out for you and you're just glowing with joy. But because of the nature of the 90-degree angle, which is like a stress angle, you could be, as you're saying hello to something that you're excited about, you could be saying goodbye to something else. And that could be creating some nostalgia or some emotional things that you just have to stop and take some note of. So there's something that I want to talk about that's really exciting. Okay, so if you've noticed over time, if you've paid attention, most of the archetypal energies that we use in astrology are male archetypal energies. And this is not a surprise because with the way the polarity has been tilted over the last couple of thousand years, we've been in a male energetically dominated time. And now that the polarities are in a process of switching, you'll notice there's more talk about divine feminine, female-led things, females, getting equal say in things, just this kind of leveling out. So when we're in between the energies of the male pole and the female pole, we get to like move towards this beautiful balance. And we're in that time now. And as part of this, places where there wasn't a female voice, an equal female voice, that's going to start coming out, and astrology is one of those things. And so the star goddesses have been talking to me about this for years, and now they want me to start bringing out their voice in the videos. Okay, so the first star goddess that wants to speak is Juno. Now, a lot of people have challenging associations with Juno, and if you look at the mythology, if you ever go into the mythology that's at the basis of astrology, it's all pretty bad. Those times or what they base things on are just kind of a mess. But the modern day translation of somebody focusing on spiritual development who's an optimist, as I am, you see different levels of storylines from these archetypal energies. So Juno basically speaks about relationships, the importance of relationships, healing them, the relationship to self, the relationship to spirit, and all of, marriage is a traditional rulership, but anything, business relationships, friendships, how you are in relationship, the relationship to relationship. Okay, so for all signs, there's a prolonged focus on the keys that relationships hold to your happiness. This got really strong towards the end of 2019. It's going to be going until like September of 2020 because of the retrograde cycle of Juno being in Libra for all that time. Usually she breezes through signs much quicker than that. So it's bringing a general theme about the importance of relationships, key relationships, taking time for them and developing them. Now, specifically for Geminis, the keys that she has to do with your fifth house. Okay, so this has to do with your creative pursuits. Okay, so basically when you apply this, when you add the energies together, it's saying that in order to develop more in your pursuits, you might need to take classes. You might need to have somebody help you. You might need some funding, in order to do something involving children. Like if you want to have kids or if you have children, you might need help with something with them. Maybe they need a tutor. Maybe a grandparent needs to help you out a little bit to get a break. Maybe you have to see a specialist in order to get pregnant. Like the storyline of needing to get help and asking for help is directly applied to everything having to do with the fifth house for Gemini. So this also has to do with romance. You might need therapy in your romantic space. You might need to have somebody match you up with someone. You might need a dating service. You might need, some help from outside in order to reach your goals that are in the fifth house domain. And this also has to do with anything like acting, modeling, fashion, athleticism, anything where you're like the celebrity, you're like the person that everybody's looking at. That's the fifth house domain. And it could be any kind of other leadership, being out in front of people for any other reason. This house is also the house of the bucket list. So things that you've always wanted to do, you might be happier doing it with somebody. You might be able to pool your resources. You might need to get help from someone to do it. Or you might be looking for someone to take a class with you or something. It's about the merging of you and other people as it relates to your creative efforts and your talents. This house also has to do with finding hidden talents. This is a very lesser known aspect of this division of your life. And it has to do with things that you're good at that you don't know you're good at yet, which is like, how cool is that? I've seen it happen so many times when this house is aspected that someone can be like 50 years old or older. And all of a sudden they realize they're great at ballroom dancing or something and they love it. There's an energy of this house that also has to do with like, not only something that you're good at, but something that you just have such a passion for. So your passions can be developed with the help of other people, with working with other people, or with delegating out, having like an agent or something like that. Okay, so those are messages that Juno has for you that I wanted to start to sprinkle in here. Okay, so having to do with your business or having to do with your work or having to do with any projects that you have on your mind, you might need to be involved with a group, okay? So this can have, and this is like different from the Juno placement, but it's telling a similar story where your connections with other people are going to be keys to everything that you want in your life, not just those fifth house things. It might be time to make your internet presence known. If you have to do anything like launch a website, buy a car, buy a phone, make a move, buy a house, that first week in February is ideal because the aspects are so sweet. There's barely any ruckus unless there's some carryover from the eclipse or unless you have something in your personal chart that would offset it. And we haven't plunged into that retrograde storyline. Mercury goes retrograde on February 16th. And once that happens, the story of retrogrades is for the rest of the year. But because there's a pre-shadow period to that retrograde, after the first few days of February, every day we go into February is cloaked in this retrograde energy, which means if you have to do something with clear details, with contracts, with agreements, life-changing decisions, the beginning of February has better long-term energy. Once we get into these retrogrades, it doesn't mean you can't do anything, and many a thing is going to come through for many people from these retrogrades. But it's more inward and backwards. It's more like a time where you've woven your web and you let things come to you, whereas the first week of the month still is like this, theme of December and January of like push, 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 get everything done, make the big decisions, take action and do all the important things that you can, and then basically weave your web. and then you sit back and you see what food comes into your web, and then you can react or deal with whatever comes to your web the way you want to. You can make little repairs on your web in the backdrop. You know, that's what retrogrades are good for. So do know also that retrogrades are good for a lot of things. I have a blog about this. You can see it at anniehelpsyou.com called Maximizing Personal Planet Retrogrades. But in general, going back over old things, going back to old contacts, dusting off projects, clearing clutter, you know, going back to places that you've been before or that felt like home, you know, contacting old friends, things like that are all really great. So if you can push your like big work projects and your big decision making, all that in the beginning of February, then you can kind of sit back and let the retrograde energies just bask in them. You know what I mean? I really like it because I didn't always, because I have Aries rising and a bunch of Sag, and I'm a fireball, you know, and I just want to go 100 million miles an hour all the time. And Geminis tend to be the same way. You guys get really restless if you're not thinking and doing and moving your body. But the way that you navigate these retrogrades is that you tune in, and the things you're trying to do, if they're not working, don't force them. And things that you tried to push through might just wind up coming back to you magically. So, you know, if you just kind of follow it, whereas before, like until the beginning of February, if things aren't working out, you can follow your intuition. Maybe certain things aren't meant to be, but it's more of a time to push through the obstacles. Once we get into the retrogrades, it's more of a time to notice that the obstacles are very likely pointing you in a different direction or helping you line up with divine timing, even if it doesn't seem like that's what's going on. It's very relaxed, it's very flexible, and if you use it that way and don't push too hard unless it's flowing, then you can have a really, really sweet retrograde year, which is going to be. So we'll be talking more about the retrogrades as they come, and I have plenty of resources. I also have a video, Mercury retrograde, that you can check out. So in general, a very busy time for Geminis, hopefully a time where you can get some sanity and take a few days off here or there, or just get some rest time in between, and still some sweetness from these air trines from the planets moving through Aquarius. A little bit of emotion starting to come in as a theme, you know, for better or worse, and you might have to slow down and be present with those things. And Juno wanting you to get help when you need it, especially as it relates to those things we discussed. So maybe you'll find a hidden talent this month by getting, you know, somebody saying, maybe someone saying, hey, will you take this class with me? That's Juno speaking also. And then you do it, and then you figure out that you love that, whatever it is, you know. So those are all possibilities for this month. In general, I'm very excited about this month. And of course, anything can happen to anyone at any time, but the stress and the heaviness and the worry and the anxiety that was really strong in December and January will likely start dissipating in this time. And that is definitely something to look forward to. So if you want more resources from me, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com, because I do a write-up of all the sweet aspects, all the salty aspects, what dates those are on, what you can expect from them, plus a general write-up of the tone of the month. My February newsletter has a special added bonus of a retrograde addition to help you understand the retrogrades, dispel some myths about them, and understand what we're stepping into for the rest of the year with that energy. So that's at anniehelpsyou.com. You also get my free 28-day virtual coaching program when you sign up for my newsletter. And so that is a wonderful resource that you can go back to time and time again to keep doing inner work, and that's at no cost to you. You can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, and always know that the links that I give you are also in the notes underneath the video. So if you don't catch them, you can see them under there. So cozybysweetstarlight.com is my beautiful, healthy, happy lifestyle site that's astrology kissed. I've got written horoscopes a month early for you there. I've got astrology for wellness blogs, beautiful recipes, healthy recipes, seasonal things. It's a beautiful, beautiful site. So definitely check it out. And also you can check out the horoscopes that I write there that often talk about things different than I talk about in the videos. If you would like to be an astrologer as your profession, or would like to just go dive deep into learning astrology, I've got almost 100 modules in my Becoming a Professional Astrology or Professional Astrologer Mastery course. So if you go to anniehelpsyou.com, you'll find it, or you can go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. And in this course, it's go at your own pace. You can do the modules online, and it's just endless. It's a wonderland of learning astrology step by step, in this building fashion. So whether you want to use it for your own self-development and helping your family and friends, or you want to do it professionally, you can do that with this course. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.